Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. I'm so incredibly excited to have you here today, mostly because we're diving headfirst into a mystery that literally affects almost every single one of us. We're exploring the death of boredom, why we can't stand silence. Now, this isn't just your standard complaint about staring at screens all day. No, we're going to look at the actual hard data and the very latest psychological research to figure out why we modern humans seem completely incapable of just sitting still. Have you noticed this about yourself? That even a tiny moment of empty time feels, I don't know, kind of wrong? Well, we are going to unpack exactly why that is.
Okay, be honest with me. Have you ever done this? It's like 1 in the morning, you finally scrape together the willpower to close TikTok or Instagram, and then, boom, without even consciously deciding to do it, your thumb just goes rogue. 2 seconds later, you've opened the exact same app again. You're not looking for anything specific, right? You don't have a goal. But there's this weird, almost automatic reflex that kicks in. Listen, don't worry, you are definitely not alone in this guilty habit. But figuring out why your thumb does that, that's actually the key to understanding a massive shift in human psychology.
Let's rewind a bit. Think about how we used to handle empty time. And by used to, I literally just mean a couple of decades ago. When we had to wait in line or sit in traffic or wait for a friend at a cafe, we simply waited. We daydreamed. We stared at the ceiling. We just let our minds wander. That empty space was a totally normal part of the day. But now, every single second of empty space is immediately filled by screens and algorithms. We've developed this genuine panic when faced with even 3 seconds of silence. We basically swap out mental blank space for constant algorithmic stimulation.
So let's get right into section 1, the lost empty space, and how algorithms stole our mental pauses. You see, historically, boredom wasn't some huge enemy that we had to aggressively destroy. It was just a blank canvas. But today, the algorithms running our digital world see those little pauses as prime real estate, and they've effectively stolen them from us. It usually plays out exactly like this. Step 1, a pause in the day. Say you're waiting for the elevator. Step 2, a flash of boredom hits. It's just a tiny, fleeting moment of understimulation. But instead of letting that moment breathe, we instantly jump to step 3, instant algorithmic stimulation. We whip out our phones, check a notification, look for a quick video, and what's happening on a neurological level here is absolutely wild. Our brains are actually starting to panic without stimulation. We've basically trained our minds to treat a lack of input as an absolute emergency.
Which brings us to section 2, the digital boredom paradox. More stimulation, more boredom.
So the internet with its bottomless feeds was quite literally built to cure boredom. You'd think we'd be the most entertained, satisfied humans in history, right? But here's the massive paradox. This constant stream of stimulation isn't curing our boredom at all. Actually, it's making us entirely intolerant to it. The more we avoid being bored, the easier it is for us to feel bored. And this isn't just an opinion. A fascinating 2024 study by Katie Tom in the Journal of Experimental Psychology compared 2 groups, people engaging in fast scrolling, rapidly skipping through videos, and people who had to sit and watch one full video straight through. Logically, you'd think skipping past the boring parts to find the good stuff would make you less bored, right? But the findings showed the exact opposite. Digital switching dramatically increases our levels of boredom and fragments our attention. By constantly hunting for something better, we're literally ruining our ability to enjoy the thing that's right in front of us. This traps us in what psychologists call the boredom feedback model. The research defines boredom not just as having nothing to do, but as a gap. It's the psychological distance between how engaged we currently are and how engaged we want to feel. When you're scrolling, your brain is trapped in this constant state of expectation. It expects that the very next video is going to be the absolute best one. But because you're constantly expecting more, you're never truly satisfied. Engagement plummets, you are stuck in a cycle where the very tool you're using to fight boredom is actually generating it. So if this makes us feel worse, why on earth do we keep doing it? That brings us to section 3, slot machine in the pocket. Let's talk about the neuroscience of the swipe. The engine driving all of this is called the variable reward system. To really get this, don't think of your phone as an entertainment device. Think of it as a digital slot machine, or let's use a simpler analogy like a vending machine. If you put a coin in a vending machine and it gives you a snack, great, you're happy. But what if you put a coin in and sometimes it gives you nothing, sometimes it spits out a stale cracker, and sometimes it hits the absolute jackpot and drops 3 candy bars? You would be slamming that button all day long. That unpredictability is exactly what drives continuous behavior. Our brains become totally addicted to the anticipation of dopamine. We're not actually addicted to this specific TikTok video or the Instagram post. We're addicted to the sheer intoxicating possibility of what the next swipe might bring. Now, we need to talk about the dark side to this because the stakes here are very real. Recent systematic reviews, including a 2024 meta-analysis in addictive behaviors and research in the Neuropsychology Review, reveal that losing our ability to tolerate boredom has severe psychological consequences. When we lose boredom, the data shows strong links to increased anxiety, problematic internet use, and highly impulsive behavior. It ties directly to disordered screen use, where we literally lose our impulse control. And in highly vulnerable conditions, the inability to just sit with one's own thoughts has even been correlated with suicidal ideation. So, yeah, this is way beyond a simple distraction problem. We're talking about a fundamental rewiring of our mental health. And that leads us to a huge reframing of this whole issue. People always love to complain, right? Oh, the internet is destroying our attention spans. We have the attention span of a goldfish. But what's the literal truth according to the research? Our attention spans are actually largely intact. Think about it. If a movie is really great, you can still easily sit there for 3 hours and watch it. The disturbing truth isn't that we can't pay attention. It's that we've been trained to be hyperstimulated and entirely novelty dependent. The modern internet hasn't broken your attention span. It's trained your brain to be perpetually unsatisfied with anything that isn't giving you an immediate massive hit of stimulation. All right, moving into section 4, why we need boredom. The biological function of doing absolutely nothing. So, if being bored feels so incredibly uncomfortable, why did humans even evolve to feel it in the first place? Well, recent psychological reviews make it clear. Boredom is not a bug in human evolution. It's a feature. It's a psychological necessity. Doing nothing is actually doing something very important. According to a 2024 paper in Frontiers in Psychology, boredom serves absolutely vital biological functions. First, it triggers reflection, giving your brain the blank space it needs to process your day. It also sparks creativity, because when your brain has no external input, it's forced to start generating its own internal input. It drives curiosity, pushing us to explore the real physical world instead of just a glass screen. And finally, it promotes meaning-making. When we constantly jam our mental silence full of digital noise, all of these critical cognitive processes are just blocked. Your brain literally has zero room left to wander. And that brings us to a really profound, almost existential question that all of this research forces us to confront. What happens to us if humans simply never get bored again? I mean, what happens to society, to art, to innovation, and to our own self-awareness if we spend our entire lives trapped inside an infinite, algorithmically curated feed? If we never actually have to face the quiet discomfort of our own thoughts, what parts of our humanity just kind of fade away? We really have to rethink our own behavior here. We tell ourselves that we're just seeking entertainment, right? It's just a harmless little search for a quick laugh or a bit of joy. But the psychological data tells a completely different story. What we're actually doing is avoiding mental silence. We are literally using our devices as an avoidance mechanism. We're running away from the quiet because somewhere along the line, the quiet became unfamiliar and terrifying to us. It brings us to a pretty harsh realization. Maybe the problem isn't that we are too busy. Maybe we have simply forgotten how to be quiet. We love to blame our packed schedules, our demanding jobs, our fast-paced lives, but maybe the truth is a lot simpler and, honestly, a lot harder to face. The modern world has given us the greatest access to entertainment in the history of humanity, but the hidden cost is that it's made us forget how to just exist in the quiet moments. So, I want to leave you with this final thought as we wrap up this explainer. Historically, boredom was the empty space where human beings did their absolute best thinking. The real danger of the digital age isn't just that the internet is stealing our time or even our attention. The deeper tragedy here is that the internet is stealing our silence, the exact quietness that makes us human in the first place. So, next time you feel that automatic urge to pull out your phone while you're just waiting in line, what would happen if you just let yourself be bored instead? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember to keep asking questions.